Hey everybody, Andy here. Happy Tuesday. Got a special on a Tuesday, not Thursday. Great to have you. Wonderful to be here. I like to get the week off fast. Couldn't even wait till Thursday. Wanted to have this special show for you today. We're going to be talking about how to get information from employers to know whether they are a good fit for you. If you're here with me live, get in the chat, say hi, let me know who you are, let me know where you're from, let me know what you do, let me know what you need. Put some question marks in front of your questions so I can find them. If you're in one of my programs, please let me know that as well. Use your hashtag so I know what resources you have available to you, and I always like to give you a shout out. One other thing. This is going to be, I think, a pretty detailed talk because there's a lot of stuff that we want to go through, and I actually even broke it up into two parts, so I'll explain that in a minute. So first thing is, you're trying to figure out if an employer is a good fit for you. You got two goals. First, you got to know what it is that you want, what makes you happy. The second thing is you got to know how to get that information and insight from the employer to know if they can satisfy it. That's two goals. But there's an issue here in the fact that you are trying to get insight into the employer's behavior and what they're all about. And these kinds of pieces of information have a tendency to make you potentially incriminate yourself when you're asking questions. So what do I mean? Well, here's a classic example. You want to go work at an organization where you feel like they support your career, but they also really support your life, that work-life balance, and you get a little bit afraid of asking, what's the work-life balance like? Because you're afraid they're going to misconstrue that you don't want to work hard. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, is how does the employer really operate? So that's what we're going to go through today. And this started, I actually gave you about a 45-minute video on Sunday, a couple of days ago, if you're here with me live. So it was a couple of days ago. If you're watching this on the recording, you can certainly find this on my YouTube channel about how to start your job search in the right place. And in that video, I talked to you not just about the job search, but I teed it up with how you dial in your life, goals, and the how you go about achieving them and the tools you can use. And I gave you the analogy of how that applies to your job search. And I brought you through this, and I brought you all the way up to the point where I said there are generally, although there's quite a few and everybody's unique, there are 15 really common happiness factors, needs, criteria, call them whatever you want. But these are the things that make most employees happy. Now, everybody's a little different. Everybody's got different conditions in their lives and different desires and different goals. But as an executive recruiter, of which I have been for a very long time, back in 2004 when I started my executive search for Mile Walk, I started to collect insight from candidates, job candidates that we were recruiting on behalf of our clients. And one of the first things that I would ask them is, what makes you happy? What are you looking for? Regardless of what I have available on my desk as a recruiter and the clients that I'm working on behalf of, regardless of that, what do you want? And I wanted to know that because I wanted to understand what made people happy, because generally speaking, if they weren't going to be happy, didn't matter what I had on my desk. It wasn't going to be a better fit for them than probably what they were doing at the moment. And it also gave me a chance to learn about them, understand what drove them, and gave me a chance to articulate the opportunities that I had in a manner that would resonate with them, so that I was providing them insight into what it is that they needed to know. But you don't always have an executive recruiter facilitating this for you, and so you got to do it on your own. But through about a decade and a half of doing that work, I gathered all those pieces of information that most job candidates were interested in their new employer. So more than 12,000 people contributed data to these to help me determine what those 15 happiness factors are. We're going to go through those today. I'm actually going to take you through them. I've given you a download. If you don't have this, well, you can't read this, but this is the top 15 happiness factors. I've given you a list of them. We've been circulating this for a couple of months, actually longer, but more recently, more heavily, the last couple of months. Maybe the team can drop it in the chat so you can grab it if you don't have it. I'm going to give you what those happiness factors are, and then I'm going to tell you how I would actually investigate them. All right, now before we start though, I want to give you a little a running start with how to think about getting at this information. And I want you to think about something that I often say to you, that when, and you probably heard me say this before, but if you haven't, believe me, this is true. So employees, job candidates like yourselves, you're hired for what you can do. So employers hire you for your skills, but you get fired for who you are. Okay, your behaviors are ultimately what lead to you being dismissed most of the time. So the same is actually true when you, as a job candidate, are picking employers. Employers, you often seek them based on the role they can offer you, what some of the perks are, what it might be like to work there as it relates to your growth and what you think you're going to get out of it. But wouldn't you agree you get upset with them if you do get upset with them because of the way they behave and the way they treat you, right? You might love the role description that you have, but the way your boss treats you doesn't make it a happy place for you to work. Conversely, their behavior can also really keep you there. So anyway, I want you to think about this because ultimately these happiness factors, most of them are related to behaviors. So here's what I want to do. I want to give us I got some note cards. I got a slide here for you today. Got all kinds of goodies, but make sure you grab the download, and I think that will really help facilitate this discussion. But as we get into this, here's what I want to prime you with 3 things. First thing is you got your criteria and what it is that you're trying to discover. Think about what is it that I want to know. So for example, one of those criteria, we'll get into the complete list here in a few minutes, but one of those criteria is boss. People want supportive bosses, they want loving bosses, they don't want micromanagers, and you need to figure out if the boss is loving, supportive, will have your back, or is she or he a micromanager. That's what I need to know. All right, make note. I know this sounds remedial, but this is really important to give you an idea of how to approach this. What is it that I want to know? What would be a good past example of this? So if they do this to you, right? Like, don't employers ask you, tell me about a time when? That's code for give me an example when, give me an example of. Right? Don't they do this to you? Isn't turnabout fair play? So just think about it. Well, if I wanted to know if the boss was a micromanager, what would be a good example of that? Right? That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is, what would be a good future situation to put them in to prompt what their behavior will be like in the future if I want to know if they're a micromanager, for example, or any of these others, dozen or so that we're going to go through. So what does this sound like? So for those of you that follow me, and you know there are basically 3 types of interview questions they ask you, what are they? They're tell me about a time when, those past historical behavioral interviewing questions. Or they say, hey, this project that you did, tell me how you did that. That's something specific that you did. Or they say, there's this situation where, what would you do? That's the future. Doesn't this sound a lot like that? Except you're turning it around. Hey, what's good for the goose, right? So I want you to think about this. What's a good past example that would illustrate their behavior, and how could I put them in the future to actually see how they would operate and what their reaction would be? Okay, so I just want you to think about this as you go through your list of stuff that that you're trying to investigate. How would I do that? Now, that's what I want you to think about. So just make those notes, take your screenshots, watch the replay or whatever. But that's how I want you to start to think about this. Now, when you're about to get ready to do this, for each one of the items that you're trying to get information for, just try to use those as prompters. Now, I have a job search coaching program. I have a premium program. Inside the premium program, I've gone through great lengths to give the members of that program, I call them boot campers, basically different techniques at how they can elicit information. We've got the opportunity techniques, the investigative and interrogative ones. We've got reverse behavioral techniques. I've got what I call the opposite technique. I've got something I call the disguise technique, because I like to name stuff. And I'm actually going to give you a sliver of the disguise technique in how to elicit this information. And I want to get, so I'm giving you these prompters, but now I want to give you the techniques, and then we're going to walk through the 15 criteria. So I'm going to switch over to a slide here. And I want you to imagine for a second that you wanted to get at information about the boss. Is the boss going to provide you autonomy? Is the boss going to be supportive? Is the boss a micromanager, right? So I use that example. Now, thinking about the prompters, what is it that I want to know? What's an example of that, or how might I be able to put people in future situations? Here's what I want you to, here's an example of what you can do. So the first thing is the boss a micromanager? Now, what I like to do is to remember, one of our goals here is to avoid incriminating ourselves. And I don't want to let the boss know what my preferred style of management is, because I don't want to provide him or her or them a leading example so that they will echo what I'm saying. Right? I don't want to say, Mr. Boss Man, I'm a junior person and I need somebody to handhold me. Or, hey, Miss Boss Lady, I'm a really senior person and I don't want anybody, on me each day. I want you to just provide some direction and go. Well, we don't want to give them any of those leading indicators. So you can make statements like, I'm a detail-oriented person and I really love processes. I also like the freedom to create. So you basically have said, I'm all of these things. I have all of these preferences, so the boss doesn't know exactly what it is you're looking for. And then you go on to ask questions, and I'm going to give you a couple of different styles or a couple of different techniques that you can use. This is from one slide in one of the sessions inside my program, but this is basically a sliver of the technique. So I'm a detail-oriented person and I love processes, but I also like the freedom to create. I'd be interested in knowing from you what your philosophy is as a boss and how you would manage your staff. Something like that. This is a really open-ended technique to get them now talking about how they operate. Now remember, they're not sure because of your statement, because you disguised what your preference is. So they'll answer you. Or here's another technique. I'm a detail-oriented person, I love processes, and I love the freedom to create. Then you can give them a multiple choice. Do you like to provide oversight and let us run with it? Or are you somebody who prefers daily check-ins or something of that nature? You can give them a multiple choice if you want to start narrowing their responses. Here again, they don't know which one you prefer. So now they're just going to answer based on what they most typically do. Or if you want to really get sophisticated, you can go on to become a little bit more specific in providing them and getting examples from them. So, hey, I'm a detail-oriented person. I love processes, but I also like the freedom to create. I'd love to understand how, could you explain how you work with your staff to make sure that all the deliverables get done on time? Okay, that is a more narrow way to get them talking about how they do something specifically. Or you could give them a multiple choice with options, and this is one of my favorite ways to do it is, hey, I'm a detail-oriented person and I love processes and I love the freedom to create. I'd love to know if you could tell me how you actually interact with your staff and as it relates to the best performer on your team, your most seasoned resource. How do you work with that person? How do you work with the least experienced person, right? Because if he or she's a great boss, they're tailoring the way that they operate based on what the person on the team needs. So although they're managing a team, they're really managing individuals. So these are some different techniques that you can use to get at information that you want without actually disclosing your preferences, which is what you want to do. You want to hold that close to the vest. You don't want to say to somebody, well, I really prefer somebody who's going to check in with me every day to make sure that I'm doing things the right way. You don't want to let them know that. And you don't necessarily up front want to let them know that you want the freedom to create and you don't want to talk to them for 2 weeks, right? So I hope this is tracking with you. If it is, can I get a hey in the chat? Can I get a hey from my team that everything is running effectively? But this is one portion of one technique that I teach inside my coaching program, but I wanted you to have an idea of what I'm talking about when I say I want you to be thinking about what would be good examples to illustrate whether they behave the way I want them to behave. Right? Isn't this partly a reverse behavioral interviewing question that you're shooting back at the employer? Tell me how you do that typically. Give me an example of. Right? So that's where you're going at the examples. What about the future? Interestingly, I got an example. I was giddy this morning as I was looking through my note cards, and I ditched the sample I was going to give you, and instead I swapped it out for the one I'm about to give you right now. Last night, literally, this is like hours old. This is like 15 hours ago. I was talking to Hugo, one of my one-on-one coaching clients, super dude. He got an awesome job with Pfizer because he crushed it in my job search coaching program. And he's been there for, 2 or 3 years. And he keeps getting major companies calling him. And so he wanted to have a coaching session with me because he's going into an interviewing process where they're hiring him or they're interviewing him to build out a quality control group. Major international pharmaceutical company, medical devices company. They do a number of things, and he's interviewing for this position. And as part of this interview, he's got to give a presentation. That's why we were having a coaching session, because we were putting together his presentation. He wanted to know, Andy, what steps should I include? What would I do? How would I go through it? And how would I package all this? We get done with all this, and part of that presentation was building out a unit, of which it does not exist. So then he looked at me and he said, Andy, what happens if, I view this a certain way and I pitch it a certain way, or I go to work there and I make an assumption that it's going to be a certain way, but their view of what this group looks like is not anywhere near what my view of this group looks like? Great question. Simple stuff here. What if I think it's 10 or 20 people and they think it's 2? Right? Me and a helper, right? So isn't that a great example of how we can put them into the future to actually see what it is that they think? So I said, Hugo, here's what I would do. I would ask them, hey, I just curious. Obviously I've run units like this and I've built units like this, but I'd be interested to know right now, what do you envision this group to look like? Just an open-ended question, just get their thoughts. Now, if they're snarky and they do something like, well, hey, Hugo, we're hiring you because we want you to tell us. It's like, that's fair, and I will. But right now, I want to take your temperature. I need to know where your head is, right? So you kick it back to them, and what do you think? What does this look like? What do you envision? They may come out and they may say, we think it's about 5 people. The question isn't, well, I think it's 10 or here's why it's 20. It's, why do you think that? Right? Get their data. Have you ever considered? What about this? What would you do if? Would I be given the opportunity to convince you? What would that look like? What information would you need for me to convince you? And so on and so forth. And that's how you anchor on what their behavior is going to be for some very specific scenario that you are now walking them into the future so you know where their head is. How many times have you been somewhere internally or in a new job that you've taken and you thought you were going to build out this great team, or you thought the deliverable was going to look like this, and it doesn't? Because you didn't investigate that. Because why? Because you didn't put them into the future, and you didn't simulate, and you didn't do the what-if scenarios. So this is a great way for you to go about getting at, what did Hugo want to know? He wanted to know, what's their view of this? Are they going to be committed to this? How long are you willing to do that? At what pace are you willing to hire those people? What is the what is the process to hire them? These are phenomenal questions that you should be asking. And when you don't ask them, what happens? You walk into a new job, you start working there, and you start complaining that the employer lied to you when nothing could be further from the truth. You just didn't ask them the right questions to know what they were thinking or what would happen if your line of thinking was different than their line of thinking. So you need to be able to do that. All right, really good stuff. Now, again, if you want to know what those happiness factors are, make sure you grab the download. It's in the chat, or if you're watching this on a replay, it'll be in the description. Another thing you can grab is the interview intervention book. It teaches you how to ask questions, and it also gives you 39 great questions to ask the employer, so you can use some of those to stimulate your thinking. And if you grab that little package that currently is now $7 material and handling, you get an ebook called How to Interview the Employer, 75 Great Questions to Ask Before You Take Any Job. So those are some really good assets, as well as the coaching program, which I showed you one of the slides from one of the sessions. All right, let's go into what these happiness factors are. And I'm going to give you a little insight into the line of thinking of how I would go about getting that information. All right. Number one, I'm going alphabetically. Okay, so if you've got the download, this is the sequence that the happiness factors are in, and they're alphabetical, so this is not order of importance. All right, appreciation. I want to know if they will appreciate me. Now, appreciation comes in different forms. I just want a pat on the back and recognition and some respect. Some people want the corner office. Some people want the money, the bonus, the stock, right? Perks, spiffs, this, that, travel first class, whatever, right? But appreciation, you need to dial up what appreciation looks like. But what I would do is I would memorize this word, recognize. So you need to start down a path of how do you recognize your employees? And I would start there. How do you recognize your employees? Now, they don't know if you want money, title, corner office, first class tickets, or whatever, right? How do you recognize your employees? What happens when? What happens every August when you do annual reviews? Then keep going, all right? Then dig. Right? Don't let them skim. You anchor, you sink your teeth in like a dog with a bone, and don't let them get off that subject until you have exactly what you need. All right? So how do you recognize your employees? That's the way I would get that line going. The atmosphere of the place. Now, okay, before all you start yelling about COVID, just atmosphere. Okay, like working in an office is not completely dead. All right, there's still offices. We still go to them. Sometimes we go every day. Sometimes we go once a week. Sometimes we go once a month. Sometimes it's 50-50. But there's an atmosphere and an energy inside the office. People want to work in a good environment. Or even if they work from home, what's the atmosphere or interaction like? This is something that you can observe if it's something physical. But it's also something that you can ask about. And I would ask specifically, if you're on a Zoom or if you're on a phone call, if you are given an opportunity to go into the office, which most of you should be, you don't need to ask these questions. You want to observe this stuff. You want to walk the halls. You want to tour. Do not. Here's a big mistake. You walk in, you ride the elevator up, you go to reception, the receptionist walks you to the conference room, they interview you, and they walk you out. Don't do that. All right? Don't let them get away with that. While I'm here, I'd love to walk the hall. Right? Can I see what the place looks like? I don't want to just see the floor where the product development people are. I want to go to the sales department too. Where the accountants sit. Where the executives, are they on the same floor or are they on the top floor? All that stuff matters. I worked for an organization. We had, in the main office, in the headquarters, we had 2 full floors all the way around. Big tower in the Chicagoland area, and we had offices in many different cities in the U.S. as well as internationally. And I was at the headquarters, and I was on the executive team. and we had a meeting about where our offices should be, meaning, Andy, your office, where do you want that? I said, where do all of my people sit? It's not like, don't think that that's a natural reaction. Like some people, like executives are on the 20th floor. Everybody else is on, 12 through 15. No, I want my desk closest to where the staff comes in and out when they're in between, assignments, or they're just copping a squat in the office, right? So we made sure that people sat near the teams, that kind of stuff. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. All right. Number 3 and 4 were autonomy and boss. Well, I just gave you that in the slide. So going back to what I was showing you here, this is, 3 and 4, autonomy and boss. This is the kind of stuff that I would be going through. How do you work with? Make them go through both examples, least experienced, most experienced. How do we make sure that we're meeting deadlines, and so on and so forth. So that's 3 and 4. So we touched on that. And number 5, challenge. Okay, love this one. How many of you would say, I need to be challenged, I want to grow? Okay, that's good, that's cool. Except that if you say something like that to yourself in an interview, I might be thinking, well, you Xerox 10 things a day. I want you to Xerox 100. That's a challenge, right? Is that the kind of challenge you want? You're a salesperson. You got 10 accounts. I'm going to give you 100. Is that what you want, actually? Is that the challenge you want? You're the VP of sales. Do you want to be the VP of sales and marketing? Is that the kind of challenge you want? Certain challenges are desirable. Other challenges are not desirable. Okay, now you need to be clear. I want this kind of challenge, not this kind of challenge. I want diversity in function. I do not want more of the same. I'm doing a triathlon. That's a challenge. It's hard. Like I'm a runner. I could run a marathon, which is farther, or that's far, or ultra marathon, I guess. Right? Or I wanted to challenge myself by doing different disciplines. That was the kind of challenge I wanted. I didn't want to run farther. I wanted to do more things. Same kind of thing in business. So you need to be really clear. So one of the ways I love to get at this and start this discussion is, how will this role challenge me? Here you go. Based on my background. Based on my background, which we've been talking about and which you should know because you read my resume. How do you think this role will challenge me? Don't tell them what kind of challenges you want. Make them tell you what they think the role offers. Well, you get these assignments and then we're going to make the assignments bigger. I don't want bigger assignments. I want more different assignments. I want a wider portfolio. We're going to make your unit bigger. No, I don't want my unit to be bigger. I want it to be more diversified. This is really important. I know I'm making a big deal about this. So you need, what did you do here? You didn't tell them what your preferred challenge is. Okay? So this is really, really important. I cannot stress this enough. Disguise everything when you're talking this way. When you're looking to elicit information, they will give you what they think is so great about it, which may or may not be what you think is great about it or not. Okay? Collaborative. Andy, is Mile Walk a collaborative organization? Sure. We talk a lot. We have Zoomers. If we had an office, I'm sure we'd be eating lunch together and this and that kind of thing. But that doesn't necessarily give you an example of how we're collaborative. Collaboration has a connotation of being a diverse set of ideas coming together to collaborate into other ideas or solutions or whatever, and then being carried out and implemented. Taking into account in a great way, not in an exhaustive way, other people's ideas and opinions. Okay, what is a great example of that? Can you tell me about a time when you supported a new, or I used this just for brevity, unliked idea? I might not ask it that way, but what you're trying to do is put the boss, put the manager, put the team in a position to tell you when they supported ideas that they were either not completely sure about, but maybe the team was emphatic about trying it, or they were trying things that they weren't sure were going to work, but they were creative enough to go and do them to see. Right? Marketing is testing, and in order to test, you need different variables and different solution types. So, can you tell me about a time, Mr. Bossman, when somebody on your team came up with an idea that you really didn't love, but you gave them an opportunity and supported them in designing and implementing it? Right? Allocated resources. That's open and welcoming and collaborative. Give me an example. They should be able to yank one within seconds where they did that. Because what? If they otherwise are not able to, then they are not what? Collaborative. I don't have to think back further than a day to come up with an example on any given day. So this is really important. Don't ask them about their philosophy on collaboration. They're going to give you a textbook response. They're not lying to you. In their own mind, they think they're right. That's the truth. That's how I see the world. Except in practice, if I go into a meeting every time with the boss and every time we come out, we're just doing what you say, that's not collaboration, that's dictatorship, right? So that's a great one. The commute. Now, observe this and know what your flexibilities are. Flexibility is one we're going to talk about down the road, but this commute, it takes in several factors. Is it planes, trains, and automobiles? Is it walks? Is it a train and then a 1.5 mile walk? Is it I got to come in every day? Right, so that's something that you can observe. Number 7, comp and benefits. This is going to be very, very specific to, right, what is the offer going to be? You are not investigating this until you have an offer in front of you. And then when you have the offer in front of you, then you are asking questions related to, I want to understand this in more detail. The line of questioning does not occur in the beginning of the interviewing process when they say, we think this job pays 75 to 85, right? That's not you getting information, and that's not you asking questions. You just ignore that until the end when they put the offer in front of you. So that's going to be something that I've given you umpteen hours of tactics on in my salary negotiation stuff. How about this? Contribution. How will my contributions attribute to the goals? Don't ask if my contributions matter. Don't ask what they think my contributions are going to be. Just ask them, how does this role and the outputs contribute to the corporate goals? Based on their attribution and the relationship they draw between what you produce and why it matters will tell you how important you are to the company. This is moving a pawn off the chessboard so that when you get to the negotiation table, you're going to give this back to them. If my contributions matter to this degree, then the value of that contribution is X, not Y, right? Chess, not checkers, okay? So you want to make sure all you're doing is you're collecting data to use later. Value, okay? Next one, culture. Okay, I just got done telling you about, 30 minutes ago that I gave you a video the other day on how to start your job in the right place. Culture is an item, very important, except that culture in and of itself is not a need, right? The adjectives which describe the culture are the things that you need to get at. So for example, collaboration, collaborative environment, is a cultural characteristic embodied within this list. But if you go to the video that I just showed you the other day, how to start the job in the right place, and how about this, tell me I don't love you, go to the 38-minute mark exactly, and I show you the top 20 cultural adjectives used to describe the traits and behaviors of an organization that are the most popular ones. Go there, look for that list, use that list for your list. Okay, flexibility. How about this? You want to know, it just goes to autonomy. There's tangents here. There's coming and going. There's, am I operating in an adult environment? Do I have to come into the office every day? What happens if, right? Describe the setup of how employees get their work done. How do they get their work done? What do you mean? Where do they work? How do they do it? Day in pods? Day at home? Day in the office every day? Just what is it? Tell me. Well, it's different for each person. Describe it to me. genericize it. These salespeople are always on the road. Product engineers are always in the cubes next to each other, or they're in the SWAT room. What? Just tell me, right? They know nothing about your preferences. Describe to me. I didn't tell you that I want to work from home. I didn't tell you that I want to work in the office. I didn't tell you that you needed to give me, pay for my taxi switch. Just how do they get their work done, right? Get them going down that road. And then they may ask clarifying questions. That's okay. You respond. All right, growth. What potential opportunities are there for this role? Well, the sky's the limit for you. You, as an engineer, you could go into the center and support. You could go out with the development teams, the integration teams. You could be a pre-sales engineer. You could be a blah, blah, blah. Great. Tell me exactly where people on this team, my predecessors, that have moved within your organization, where exactly did they land? Exactly did they land? Okay, not where might I want to know that. But now I want you to give me examples of people just like me, and where did they go? How many went to that unit? Why so many? Why did so many go to that team? Why are so many in the center? Right? Like that kind of stuff. Why aren't there more sales engineers? We tend to get them from the outside. What if your aspiration is to be a sales engineer and they don't think that internally that they're cultivating skills that make you good for the pre-sales side? Just an example. Where specifically? What is that? That's data. Then what do? You read the data and then you go from there, right? Same kind of thing as before. All right, what am I on? 13. People. Observe if they're open, welcoming, and fun. How they behave in the interviewing process is usually an indication of what you can expect when you work there. Now, some of you come to me and you say, well, Andy, I don't know, they were kind of a wet mop. Then they're a wet mop. Well, they seemed really nice and open and welcoming. Then they probably are. Okay, this is true. This is true. They don't usually change their spots. But this is something that you need to observe. You can look at their facial expressions, right? You can look at the way they sit. Do they lean into you? You can think about how did they greet you? You can think about when you ask a question, do they freely give information or are they close to the vest? These are all consistent behaviors that will occur. Okay? So, observe. Number 14, the role. Okay. You need to assess their interpretation of what success is. So one of my favorite questions that I put this out years ago, right? If I was to take this job or anybody was to take this job, what would success look like in a year? Now, they have to know this. Each person you interview with has to know it, because they may have a different interpretation of what success looks like. If you find yourself getting many variations of what success looks like, that's bad. Now, I'm not talking about, I'm the internal customer you support, so my version of success of your role is to be responsive to my needs. Great. Your boss might say, yeah, my interpretation of success is you putting processes in place so that you can be responsive to their needs. That's the same, right? That's one to the next to the next. Okay, right? Filling in the puzzle pieces, or no, they think you need to be going into new markets, and this one needs to be thinking, no, you should only be working the strategic accounts and try to milk out all the money from people who are already your customers. That's bad. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. You need to make sure that you know what their interpretation of success is. And 15, travel. So, travel. How much travel is there? It says 50%. 50% travel is you're out every week from January through June. You're gone every week. And then from July to December, you're home. That's 50%. Or you leave Monday morning, you come home Wednesday night. That's 50%. give or take, right? So what's the travel look like? What's the travel patterns? Is it local? Am I going to the different plants? Am I getting on a plane and I got to fire up the passport? Is it, well, I just got to, I'm just crossing the state lines? Am I driving? Am I what? Like, you got to assess this if travel is part of your job. So these are the 15, and I want you to make sure that as you the things I want to recap here are as you go after those 15. What do I want to know? What's a good past example of this? And what's a situation I could put them in that would give me the information that I want to know about how they think and will behave? You do these things. Now, I'm not going to recap all 15. Grab the download. This is free. It's still in the it's still in the chat there, or it'll be in the description. But so if you want to complete this little mini 2-dayer thing, check out the video on how to start your job search in the right place. It's about 45 minutes, and then this is probably about another 40 minutes or so of once you got the stuff in order. You're going to put your little tool bag together, and part of your tool bag is going to include these questions, but these questions need to be in alignment with the things that are important to you. Every time you question an employer, there's 2 things you are always trying to get. Is this a good company? And is this a good company for me? These are not the same, right? They need to be a great company, a leader in their space, offer you nice opportunities, right? Financially sound and all that. All that's great, but they might not fit you, your personality, the behaviors you want, what's important to you from a cultural standpoint, and so on. So every question and line of questions needs to be designed so you are eliciting both of those things, or all of those things at the end of the day. And one other thing, as a kind of a parting note, you may not get to ask all these questions in one interview. You probably won't, right? So it isn't about asking everything you need to know in one interview. It's think about your interviewing process as an entire suite. The whole recruitment line is about all the interviews you're going to take, right? From the screening with HR or the recruiters, maybe an early visit with the hiring official, maybe there's some kind of technical screen or subject matter expertise screen or whatever you want, domain expertise. Maybe there's some get to know the other people. Maybe there's a little panel interview in there. Maybe there's a presentation. That's a whole bunch of stuff, whole bunch of time that you have. And what you're trying to do is get all your questions answered over the course of the process. It's not to get them all asked in one session. And then you need to prioritize those. If you want more on this, grab the interview intervention book, or better yet, join the job search coaching program. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. We're gonna cut that session here and we'll go to the Q&A. If you're here with me live, stick around. I'm gonna answer a bunch of questions. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. What did some of y'all have to say? Aylin, good stuff. Queen, Janine, good info. Joshua Kirby, my boot campers. Oh my goodness. Great way to pull the information we need. Uzoma, I'm glad you're here, buddy. You know I gotta tell the story. You know what? I'm gonna kick this off. I'm gonna tell you guys a little story here, and because Uzoma is a fantastic guy. And I want to, before we go into the Q&A, I got plenty of time for you guys. We'll do an hour Q&A or whatever. But I want to let you know I've been sending you some messages. One of the reasons we're doing this show this week on Tuesday is because Wednesday and Thursday this week, I'm actually with members of my job search coaching program. I call them boot campers. You might see the hashtags in the chat. They're members of my job search coaching program. It's everything you need to find your dream job, and it comes with online support and live group coaching. And we meet every month, and sometimes we meet once or twice or 3 or 4 times or even more, And tomorrow, Wednesday, August 25th, and Thursday, August 26th, we have 2 sessions. Tomorrow's session, I'm doing a teaching portion on advanced salary negotiation tactics, and then on Thursday, and we're doing a Q&A, and then on Thursday, I'm doing some case studies with a couple of them, and then we're also doing a hefty Q&A. So it's a chance to supplement all the video and audio recordings and all the tools and templates and all the things that you do at your own pace. And I give you chances each month to get with me to supplement the learnings with some live and interactive coaching. So that's what's going on. And if you are not familiar with the program, it is a very effective, very widespread, proven all over the world kind of program. And Uzoma and I were having a session yesterday, and he's been in the program for a while. He's in the United Kingdom. And we met it very early in the morning, and one of the first things he said to me as we were getting into this coaching session was, he said, Andy, and he kind of smiled, and I didn't know what was coming next, and he said, you know, confession is good for the soul, and he said, I have gone through the entire program and watched all the videos, but I didn't watch the video on how to handle multiple job offers, because I said to myself, you know, I have faith in you and everything you say is great, and I love the techniques and I love you, but you got to be out of your mind if you think I'm going to get multiple offers. And there's the session in there, because I always tell people, you are going to get multiple offers. You are going to need to know how to do this. And it's not just about handling the multiple offers when you get them. It's knowing everything you need to do to plant the seeds while you're going through the interviewing processes so you can handle multiple offers effectively. And the reason he and I were having the coaching session is because he was dealing with 3 job offers. So we had a nice chuckle, and true story, my lips to God, he's here, so you know I'm not lying, because he could tell you for himself that that's what we were doing, is trying to negotiate through his 3 offers and how to think through them and what to say to the different employers. And it's a common thing with people in this program. They're having a lot of success. And one of the things that I want to tell you about tomorrow's session is I'm teaching this advanced salary negotiation tactic, and it is highly, highly effective. And just to show you, humor me here for a second. Some people that have been through this program with me, this is Alyssa, and she was in the program, sent me this email with just a big thank you. And if you see the blue line, she's in her 40s, mid 40s, and she wanted to change industries from fashion to interior design. And she was emailing me, I guess this was last month, about how she actually was able to not only do that, but landed a more senior role, because the way she went about this was demonstrating her leadership qualities, which is what the employer that she's currently working at now wanted to see more of. So she was able to outpace those other people that had more interior design techniques. And the program itself, this is Mike. I think I might have showed you this one last week, but the tool I'm going to teach you tomorrow works if you're going for an internal promotion, or if you are going for a new job. And one of the things he said here was, the plan we discussed, this was by far the most useful tool I ever had in an interview. He was in a panel interview that he and I met to prepare for this. And so it is highly effective. I think I've shown you some other messages. This is from Paula inside the actual system, sharing with me. Engineer thought 70 was a great goal, and the initial offer from the employer was well over 93,000. Just this is what's happening right now. I think I shared with you. Oh, this is actually not quite. I don't want to get to Angela yet, but I think I shared with you Tim's 60% pay increase, and I've sent you some messages about people. The pay increases are staggering right now. The world is healthy as far as most of the markets are concerned. Most of the industries are concerned. Employers are doing everything they possibly can, not only because they're growing, but also because a lot of people are leaving. So not only are they trying to hire for growth positions, they're hiring because they have to replace people who are leaving. So this is what's actually happening. And so we've got Angela, who is, I mentioned to you that I'm doing some live case studies on Thursday. If you're in the program, you're going to meet Angela. She got 4 job offers last week, and poor thing, we're going to have to help her figure out which one of these things she should take based on her goals. So we're actually going to be doing, she is one of the case studies that we're actually going to be doing on Thursday. So tomorrow is about salary and negotiation, salary negotiation, and Thursday is about the case studies and more Q&A. But if you're interested in jumping into the program, we will put you swap out the link and maybe put in the job search coaching program page. It's got everything you can imagine, everything from starting in the right place on a much more detailed level, how to bring yourself to market with the marketing information like resume writing, cover letters, your LinkedIn profile, how to actually circulate that, how to target bosses, how to network, how to get past the ATS, everything related to searching itself, as well as interviewing, everything you need to know about interviewing. So basic blocking and tackling, everything from down to the niche stuff, how to assess employers' behaviors, how to make sure that you're getting at the detailed information that's sometimes hard to get. There's specialty sections in there on that. There's also a whole boatload on salary negotiation. So in addition to what we're going through tomorrow, you've got recorded sessions on exactly what to do, soup to nuts. And there's every imaginable goal is covered. If you want to change careers, if you're a senior executive, if you're just starting out, it makes no difference. You can check out the page. I've gone through great detail to show you what's included. All your questions are answered, the frequently answered questions. There's tons of video and written testimonials you can check out on the testimonials page. I really hope you take a look at it because it really is a program that's seeing a lot of success over the years. I mean, 10,000 people that have been through it since I popped it up in late 2017. So I hope you check that out. And I don't know if we've got any questions on the program. I'm happy to show you this if you have any specific questions. And Salameo is asking how to participate in the sessions. Actually, I guess the easiest way might be just to show you this. You just head to the page. I won't go through all this because I'd prefer that you look at it on your own. But this is the page, so it's on special for $100 off. You can go in there and see all the details about what's included. It's fully recorded. You get all the tools and templates. You get lifetime access. You get lifetime online support. You get lifetime upgrades, and you get live group coaching. We do this about a couple dozen times a year. So August sessions are tomorrow and Thursday. When you enroll, and these are the things that I mentioned about all the stuff that's inside and the different topic areas that's covered, but it's basically everything. When you enroll, you'll get an RSVP email that actually gives you an RSVP link to attend these 2 sessions on Wednesday and Thursday. And the boot campers, that's what we call them, members of this program. It used to be called the Job Search Boot Camp. It's only for those members over the next couple of days, Wednesday and Thursday. And we actually solicited some insight from people like Angela, who I showed you, who got the 4 job offers. And people responded back, and then we picked a couple that we thought were going to be representative to tactics that we were going to explain. And we did this last month. We did 3 case studies, and the boot campers found it highly effective. You get all the recordings if you're unable to make it, but that's how you can get in. And there's different packages if you want to get a coaching session with me, or if you want a resume review, or if you want direct email access to me. There's different packages which you can check out. And I also have an upgrade possibility here. If you are a paying member of the Mile Walk Academy, where you've enrolled in one of the job searching programs like the interview intervention course, or the resume workshop, or the job search challenge, or the job search mini camp, we credit you whatever you've previously paid for your enrollment fee. So if you've paid $100 for a course, then you only would pay $397 more. If you paid $297 for a course, you'd only pay $200 more. So that's a pretty sweet little perk. And then there's a video with some FAQs. You can check those out. There's loads and loads of testimonials that you can access. And there's a button on the page to this page. There's some video stories. There's written testimonials from every imaginable type of person. I always like to say that you will be able to find your job search doppelganger on that page, whether you're a new professional, whether you're a seasoned professional, whether you're moving countries, whether you're trying to change jobs after not job searching for 30 years. Your problems are there. While they hurt and they feel unique to you, they are not unique in general. We've solved them already. People have solved them. People in the program have solved them. And so we have the tactics and can support you to do that. And one other thing is that the online support is very, very effective. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to message you, if you're not in the program, about what the online support looks like. And I think I showed you last week, for those of you that were here with me at Live Office Hours on August 19th, where I showed you Elian, who was moving from New York to Chicago, or actually what was really happening was she was negotiating with a company in Chicago, and we were negotiating her offer, going back and forth in the system. You have access to me. I go into that system twice a day, every day, 7 days a week, and I answer questions from people who are going through the program at their own pace. And she happened to get an offer, which was, I don't know, week before last or whenever it was, and we were going back and forth so that she could more effectively negotiate it. But sometimes you're going through and you got an interview and you got a question. Sometimes you sent a boss hunting email and you're not sure how to respond. People ask me these questions in the system and I respond, because that's what they're paying for. So it's really a great all-around package. And the other thing is you can come to these monthly sessions, and most of them are actually usually each month we have more than one, but at least one, a minimum of one. So whenever you join, you know that live group coaching support is not far behind. And if you need to, you can always access me individually as well, because we give people in this program a discounted rate on my one-to-one coaching if that's something you want, and we do that via Zoom, and we record it for you, and we give you the transcript. So it's really cool. I mean, I do about 2 coaching sessions a day. Yesterday I did 4, I think, but because we're kind of busy this week with a lot of live shows, but it's really fun. So hope you check it out, and hope you jump in. All right, what do we got? Kara, is it good to go to the Q&A now? See if we can get their questions answered. Hey, if you are enjoying this, click the thumbs up button, or I should say click the like button and share it. There's a lot of people who need help. And make sure you're subscribed to the station. Adam Stark, how you doing? Is Adam Stark first? Let's go with that. You said LinkedIn work history section should be reduced version of your resume. Should it follow the resume format? If not, how to format? Same goes for headline. LinkedIn can be an abridged version of your resume. I want you to put in there whatever you want to put in there. Yes, you can peel out bullets from your resume and put them in there. You can put stories in there. You can put anecdotes in there. You put whatever you want in there. The one thing that I want to impress upon all of you, I have a video, how to get noticed on LinkedIn. If you want to know anything about LinkedIn, just go watch the video. But here's the thing. You don't hear me talk about LinkedIn a ton, and there's a reason for that. The probability of you getting your job because you have a nice LinkedIn profile is 8%. That's the historical average from our statistics that we collected based on how people find their jobs, is that if they had a good LinkedIn profile, they had an 8% chance of getting a job that way. And if you're wondering how I know that, it's because you know those 12,000 people I was telling you that we collected the data to get you these happiness factors? Those same 12,000 people gave me information about how did you get your current job? How did you get your previous job? How did you get your previous job? In doing so, they said to me, oh, I was on LinkedIn minding my own business and some nice recruiter contacted me and I interviewed for the job and I took it. Okay, 1,000 of the 12,000 got their jobs that way, one of their 3 most recent jobs, okay? 8%. Now, the likelihood that you are gonna get your job by putting together a phenomenal resume and sending that resume out each day is basically the rest. So if I got 90% chance of this and I got 8% chance of that, I don't spend a ton of time on obsessing over what my LinkedIn profile looks like. I'm just telling you this because why would I be spending a lot of time worrying about who's looking at my profile and all this other stuff when the meat and potatoes is in you proactively being aggressive and consistently sending out your resume to bosses and recruiters and HR people and friends and loved ones and whoever else that you can find that will listen. That's how you're going to find your job, most likely. So that's where you want to spend most of your time. Put a resume together, take some of the info out and throw it on LinkedIn. Massage it as you see fit. But just go watch the video. I tell you exactly what to do in there. So that's what I would do. Really, just a lot of you obsess over the wrong stuff or you obsess over the stuff where the probability is super small. Wait, let's add insult to injury here because we're feeling generous today. 8% chance of getting your job on LinkedIn by minding your own business, okay? The applicant trashing system that most of you obsessively stuff your resumes into and wonder why you do not get callbacks or interviews, I would say that if you are a junior person, you've got about a 3% chance, give or take, of actually being seen. Not even getting your job, but actually being seen. 3% chance of being seen or 8% chance of getting your job. These are really bad ratios, right? Really bad percentages. And if you're a senior person, the more senior you are, that 3% goes down even further, usually approaching 0 asymptotically. And I'm telling you that a lot of people that are putting their resume into the applicant tracking system, especially you that earn 6 figures or more, is not a great probability that you're going to get your job that way. Yes, somebody will, but it's very low. Why not spend all your time in the high probability activities? I would put a resume together and I would slap a LinkedIn profile together in 10 minutes. That's about how much time I would spend. Honest to goodness. I'm not being funny. You write your resume, just start cutting and copying and moving stuff over and you don't have to move everything over. Go check my LinkedIn profile out if you want. There's believe me, it's not gonna make too much of a difference. Maureen Scalantino, my boot camper. Yes, the support of the network is key to success. We are in the same boat. Everyone is so supportive and so much fun. She's talking about the boot camp program, the job search coaching, online support in the community, and Myron Grimes, definitely a great day and a deal. I was able to upgrade for the discounted price. So he traded up from something that he had. So that's so great. I'm glad. And if any of my other boot campers here and want to share their experience, please do. Daryl Newman, how you doing, my friend? What is the best response to a question asking to describe a specific situation where you disagreed with another employee? A specific example I don't want to use resulted in my resignation. I would go to the video on how to answer the disagreement question. I packaged this up all very nicely for you. Jim R., good to see you. And Ann, oh, look at all my boot campers. And Jeff, I reached out for contract work to division president I know. Said, sure, let's catch up on Zoom. Awesome. Now a job opened reporting to his direct report. If not brought up, how should I approach it? You bring it up. Just go with the flow. Say, hey, I also noticed there was this other opportunity. I'd be interested in your feedback as to where I could best fit into your organization. based on what you know of me now, or what I've brushed you up on, where do you think I can add the most value? Think about what I just said. Wait, this is really important. What do you think about? Where do you think I can add the most value? You did not say, hey, I noticed this other position opened up and I prefer to work over there. Potential of incriminate. Well, actually, I wanted you over here. Now you're telling me you want to be over there. Right? No, don't do that. Right? What do you think? Where I want to come to your company and add the most value I can as quickly as possible. Where do you think that is? Where would you prefer? If he says, oh, I just want you to be happy, which one do you prefer? Say, well, I don't know anything about this other one. It piqued my interest because. Right? That's it. You can't say you're more excited. You don't know anything yet, kind of thing. So anyway, that's how I would do that. Nate Pupless, what are your thoughts on keeping your resume to 1 page? That's okay. Anything less than 2 pages is okay with me. Good to see you, Bob and baby girl. Jeff Soldner, what's the best way to connect with executive recruiters for opportunities in manufacturing, product management experience? Try to avoid scams. Jeff, not to be funny, I would not spend 1 minute, not one whole 60 seconds, reaching out to executive recruiters. All right, since I'm stat happy today, let's say you are an executive in the manufacturing sector. You have, if you reach out to them, less than a 1% chance of being placed by an executive recruiter. If they reach out to you, you have a 4% chance. Okay, so I would not spend any time. Again, you're spending time in the wrong area. If you want, you can send an email to the executive recruiter and say, I noticed you search for positions in the manufacturing sector. I'm a manufacturing executive. I'm wondering if I would be suitable for any of your client opportunities. If not, I would be open to having a call with you and would be happy to share my background with you, as well as provide any referrals to people I know that might fit positions you're looking to fulfill. That's it. Something like that. Raul, what's a good word? Joy, TC, Laura, hi. Mr. 97 and Maureen and Deborah Chapman. Here's another great boot camper who just got a huge raise. I don't want to be obnoxious with the raises, but the market is really smoking right now. And it's very important that you are taking advantage of this high time. You have all been through a lot in the last 18 months. It's been rough, and it still is in some sectors, but many of the sectors in the world right now are thriving. So I want to make sure that you can take advantage of it. I showed you that story from Alyssa who wanted to change industries. I've got 10 more of those that have come in the last 4 days of people that made wholesale changes in their life, career changes, and more than half of them got pay raises. So it's out there for the taking. Allie Marie, you had me at interrogation. You are a funny one. Rob Peterson, good to see you. Patrick, William, my boot camper, I bet it's hot in Dallas. Josh, oh, my Betrovert is here. And thank you for the birthday wish. Double nickels on Friday. Feeling damn good. Feeling damn good. Great to see you. Remember, 3 o'clock, October 22nd. I'll see you at Frenchie's. Andrew, best way to negotiate with multiple FAANG offers, especially when they ask to see competing offers. Well, I don't know if you're in my boot camp. I wish I knew, because I would send you right to the how to handle multiple job offers section. This is so complicated because there's so many different scenarios and combinations based on how many offers you have, whether you notified them that you were in the interviewing process with these other organizations as you proceeded. So I'm not going to go through all the scenarios here, but basically what you need to do is, number one, you need to have communicated that this was even a possibility. Hey, I'm interviewing with these other companies. I will let you know if I get offers. You get down to the end, you get these multiple offers. Now you have to go to each one of them and explain to each one of them what your position is. You're my first and favorite, but I don't have an offer from you yet. I have the offer from this other company and I want to be respectful and get back. You have to go through a whole bunch of scenarios here of what you need to say based on how you're feeling and how pushy you want to be. So without knowing how many offers you have, if there's a preference, then I would say, well, to your preference, you're going to say one set of things. To your second favorite, you're going to say something different, and to your third favorite, you're going to say something different. And all of that depends on what the offers are and the sequence in which they came in and whether you actually have a ranking. So with the little that I know, it's very difficult, but if you are in the boot camp, I go through all the scenarios and all the combinations of everything to say in that session on how to handle multiple job offers. Joyce, how are you? And Keith, what do you say? Job is posted by recruiting firm. How to get info on hiring company. They don't seem to answer phone calls or emails. Is this a red flag? Okay, folks, Mr. 97. You're Mr. 97 for a reason. What do? All right, you tried contacting the executive search firm and to no surprise, they did not get back to you, right? Okay, you take the job description. You copy the first 5 lines. Copy. Go to Google. Paste. Hit boom. It'll take you to where the company who has that thing posted, and you'll know who the company is. Then you look. Then you say, okay, where's the boss of this? Then you send a boss hunting letter. Then the boss doesn't respond. Then you go to the recruiter. You send a cover letter and your resume to the recruiter in charge. Can't find the recruiter? You apply on the applicant tracking system. And it's not a red flag. It's not a red flag if the executive search firm doesn't get back to you. This is no different than the corporation not getting back to you when you submit your resume in the applicant tracking system. Cut copy. You have a 90+% chance of finding that job description on the company's website, because the lazy executive recruiter pasted it on their site too, which is probably verbatim what the job description is. If the executive search firm chiseled out a bunch of stuff so that you can't find it, I would move on to something else. That's what I'm saying. Go get him, my man. Eric, is it okay to ask a recruiter about how much the job pays first thing when they send you a contracting job and ask if you are interested? Now, this is not technically a recruiter. This is a contracting firm. Let's use the term recruiter loosely because they're not really recruiters. They're contracting firms. They're temporary agencies looking to place you at one of their organizations. And if they ask you, if they say to you, hey, here's a contract, are you interested? If you actually are interested in the contract, say, I am. Let's get on the phone and talk about this. And when you get on the phone and talk about it, the contracting firm's going to say, Eric, what's your rate? You're going to say, I charge different things depending on what the role is. Then you have to figure out what the role is. Then if you're not sure what to say, you ask the contracting recruiter, what's your client want to pay for that? Okay, is your rate embodied in there? So you're going to charge me at 60 and you're going to charge them 75. You're going to give me 60, you're going to charge them 75. You're going to charge them 100, you're going to give me 90, whatever. So going rate is X. Then you decide, okay, am I okay with that going rate? And remember, this is a temporary assignment. So I don't get all hung up about, well, is it 75 or is it 80 or 85? Just pick. Is it something you want? It's temporary and it's really short, meaning it's months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 18 months. These are really short time frames. So that's what I would do. Uzoma, my man. Boy, that little 7 a.m. yesterday, buddy, I was smiling all day. That was so fun. Hey, Will. Denisha, how are you? My boot camper. Enjoy. P-Bell, what's your view on mandated vaccines and remaining unvaccinated if you work from home. So I have mixed emotions about the vaccination. I am vaccinated. I feel comfortable being vaccinated. I feel better being vaccinated. I think that every employer is entitled to do whatever they want. I feel every employee is entitled to do whatever they want. So if an employer is going to say to you, we need you to be vaccinated, and you don't want to be vaccinated, then I would leave that employer. That's honestly how I feel. I don't, I'm in favor of safety. And if someone doesn't want to get vaccinated, that's entirely up to them. It's their body, right? So, this is a situation where no one can tell you what's right, because you have your view, and I'll never tell you how to feel about something like this. I would never tell you how to feel about anything, but especially something this sensitive. And if you are worried about what goes into your body and you don't want to be vaccinated, that's entirely up to you. I personally I personally was not going I'm not going near any unvaccinated people in my circle. That's me. But employers, I think they can do whatever they want. It's their, remember, and I don't know, P-Bell, I don't know if I know you, but most in the United States, most of the employers are employers at will, and employees are employees at will. At will is my choosing. So they can choose to do mostly whatever they want. Obviously there's discriminatory laws and things like that, but this is a safety issue. No one is ever going to beat up the employers if they're trying to be safe, and they're doing this under the guise of safety. But I also respect your choice as well of not wanting to get the vaccine. That's okay for you. Dewey, hope you're well. Great to see you, Sue. Aylin, this is gold. Yes, it's so important to be with my team. It is an absolute must. And it's great to have you always. You know that. Buzzing right through here. Let me see. Question. Shannon Bridget Murphy. Is there a video about company culture? There is actually a detailed private session in my job search coaching program about how to assess the behavior of employers, or how to assess company behavior. When I mentioned the video on culture, I want you to go to this video. There are a few of them out there, but I know for a fact that in this particular, oh God, where's my card? On this particular one, how to start the job search in the right place. And at the 38-minute mark, I show you the cultural components, and then use the techniques from today to evaluate those different characteristics if you're interested. The other thing, behind the interview book is the hiring prophecies. And in the hiring prophecies, my third book, it goes into culture heavily. Afif, Andy, and people, excited to be finally here, though a bit late. That's okay. I have a question. Are there any red flags to observe that indicate they'll overwork you? So my way of going about that has to do with a line of questioning that gets at their philosophy of the work and the deadlines, and then the tactics of what they've done. So, how do you ensure the work gets done? How are deadlines set in your organization, right? So, how are deadlines set? Okay, how do you ensure the deadlines are met? Okay, what happens if the deadlines aren't met? Oh, do you provide additional resources? Do you ever change the deadlines? Who determines that? Do you do everything the customer says at the whim the customer demands? And then, okay, then if the customer demands that, then how do we address it? Like, this is the line of questioning. So that's how you get at, hey, Fee, we do whatever it takes, man. I don't care. No excuses. You're going to know. You're going to know. Valerie Miller, this is very good info. You never failed to deliver. I appreciate that. I feel like you need to know this stuff. Folks, this is the free stuff. So if you can swing the program, you're really going to get the love. 1093 O'Neill, how to approach this question in a panel interviews. Please select, please suggest the material you have regarding panel interviews. You go to the YouTube channel, you type panel interview, and it's all there. Fabulous session, Deb, thank you. Such great specific ways of thinking. Love this, definitely will incorporate. Awesome. Ann Hawkins badge, great to have you, my boot camper. John Marks, always nice to see you. Will B just ordered the book as well as signed up for the intervention course. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you in the programs as well. If you ever want to trade up, we'll get you there. Beth Uzoma is such a great guy. He is. It's true. Hold on. That story, come on. This guy is my man. It's all true, folks. He looked at me. Confession is good for the soul. I was like, uh-oh, what's he going to tell me? 3 offers. Go get them. TC. Wait, somebody thumbs down that? Come on, man. There's always one in the crowd. Wonderful info. Thank you. Salameo, I think we got that question. Darlene Ruiz, just want to say I've learned a ton from your videos and just accepted a job making 20% more. Okay, this, I'm telling you. Employers are now, the pendulum is swinging. They're having to pay up. They're trying to replace people that are leaving. They're trying to grow. It's really squeezing them. They need to survive. So Darlene, huge congrats. Can we give her a high 10? Beautiful. Life with DJ, what's up? Let me see. Raul, boot campers can join the case study sessions. Yes, you bet. Sue, Andrew, we may not have time for disguised questions despite a dialogue with the hiring manager. How to solve this? Should you ask for a one-to-one? When, after receive verbal offer? I love this question. Okay, Sue, y'all, okay. When you go in to an interview, anytime, doesn't matter who it's with, HR, tech screen, hiring official, panel, and I teach you how to do this in the program. You sequence your questions, you label your questions, you categorize your questions, you prioritize your questions, you consider who you're interacting with and all that good stuff. What's going to sell you, the information you need, all that good stuff. When you go into the interviews, you prioritize your questions in the sequence you're going to ask them. You're going to run out of time. You always will run out of time. You always want to run out of time. Meaning, you never want to ask all your questions and have them asked so when they say to you, do you have any more questions for me? Your answer is never no. Okay? It's, well, I have quite a few more questions. I respect that we're out of time. We can certainly address these at a later time if that's appropriate. Okay. You go through the whole interview process. You look at all your questions. Figure out which ones you didn't get answered and which ones you absolutely need answered. Some questions and answers are absolute luxuries to have. Some are not. Some are pivotal for you to make a great decision. So then here's what I do. They say to you, Sue, we want to give you an offer. You say, Andy, that's great. I'm receptive. I have a few more questions. I've got a number of questions. Some are really important that I speak to you about. Some I can ask the recruiter. Some I can ask the HR person or whatever. Do you think we could set up a little bit of time just to run through them quickly? Hey, Sue, email me your questions. You back to me. Andy, no, I prefer to talk in time. I'll be economical, blah, blah, blah. Never email your questions, okay? So I want to make sure that gets in there because that's the biggest mistake. Never use email, literally never use email to exchange information other than logistical information. Where do I need to be? Where's my Zoom link? What's your email address? I want to send you a thank you email. That's it, right? What time do I show up at the building? That's it. Okay, if you have questions that are not answered, you do not email them, because you cannot, you do not have the ability to use your tone, use your voice, inflection, be there to explain why it's important to you, be able to have a kickback with me about, right, multi-lines of questioning and all that other goods. You can't do that in an email. And so you, and also when you email them something, you don't know how they're going to interpret, why does she want to know that? Right? So you never do that. You say, can I set up a little bit more time? Okay, fine. Any company that wants to hire you is going to give you time to get your questions asked. Now you want to make sure you ask questions that are pivotal for your decision. Because I'll never get all my questions answered in the amount of time that they're going to allocate. I have to pick and choose which ones I absolutely need to get answered. So then you request additional time. And you request that additional time when they are going to make the offer, when you know they are going to make the offer. You do not do it before they are going to make the offer. Why? Because you don't want to, right? You don't want to do anything that mucks up or slows down the offer. You want the choice. And then you can ask the questions and then make the determination. And some of those questions that you want to ask might be necessary for you to counteroffer. I'm going to go through a lot of stuff tomorrow too. But I don't know if you're still in the boot camp, but if you are, I hope to see you tomorrow too. But that's a great one. How you doing, Jared? Maureen, yes, thank you for that. The supporting network is key to success. Oh, Martha, how are you? Lydia? Love this. Okay. Jared, what ratio of your time should you do networking and boss prospecting versus applying online? I'm not being funny here, Jared. 100% to 0. Okay? Now, you use the words applying online. I would use online for investigative purposes. I would look to see if there's open roles. If I see an open role, I would look to try to find the boss. If I couldn't find the boss, I would look for a teammate. If I couldn't find a teammate, I would look for the recruiter in that sequence. And I would be messaging. And boss hunting is networking, or network to get to the boss, or network to get to a team member. I would not apply online at all, and the only time I would put my resume in an applicant tracking system is if I got a boss and the boss said, would you please put your resume into an applicant tracking system? 100 to 0. 100 to 0, literally. Allie Marie, this is good news. 2 prior bosses reached out to me in the last week and a half, both leading new teams and want to hire me. Sounds good. Likely take one, but still plug away networking, etc. for my targeted industry. I think that's prudent. Anna, how are you, my boot camper? And Patience Mills, great to see you. Looking for... It's a question. Stuff for work. Want relocate. Told interviewer I had housing at new location, so could start in 2 weeks. Was told I couldn't start early in... Oh, goodness. How should I message this? So, I don't even... I'm on your side. I don't even understand that. If you could start in 2 weeks, that's pretty dang fast. So, what likely will happen is they're not going to find somebody that can start in super short order, and if they can, it's probably not going to be the right fit. I mean, that's pretty fast. I don't know what I would say. I would say to them, okay, well, if that's the case, then let me know if you change your mind. Paul, I've been told they felt like I have never answered the questions directly. It seemed like I have a low understanding of the questions. They had to remark it while I answer it. How should I fix this? I am not sure. I am not sure how you're responding, so I don't know what advice to give you about why you're not answering the direct, or why they would think you're not answering the questions directly. Hello, Mom. I love you. Jem D, senior role, stated no emails, asking for posted letters stating why you would be the best person. I'm taking this as no CV. How would you approach this? So First off, I don't listen when they say no emails. I send them anyway. And then I would send it and then see what happened. And then if they wanted a posted letter stating why you would be the best person, that to me is a quasi cover letter. I would use my cover letters to address and map why your background fits what they need and the value you're going to be able to contribute based on what they want accomplished. That's what I would do. It's fairly straightforward to me. Don't overthink it. Sue, thank you for the happy birthday wish. And you're welcome, stuff for work. And I think we're down. Are we down? That's it? Wait, I don't know that I've ever run out of questions like this at one of these. You got any questions about the program? I'm happy to field them. You got any additional questions? I'm happy to answer them. Oh, that's a nice little star. Nobody's got no more questions? All right, wait, man, I'm happy to support. Anybody want to sneak one in? Going once? All right, hey. With my boot campers tomorrow and Thursday. If you're interested in the program, check it out. If you got any questions, support@milewalk.com. If you want to trade up, support@milewalk.com. If you need anything else, support@milewalk.com. Oh, wait, somebody snuck one in. All right. Let's see, Patrick, Andrew, I think I need to rework this question. Want to get to the bottom of the culture of a company ideas. Okay, no. You need, I would go back. So wait, first thing is, I don't think you're in my program. If you're in the bootcamp program, we have this, we break it all down. If you're not in the bootcamp program, I would go back in this video and look at exactly how I would structure the questions based on what example would illustrate whether they behave the way you want them to behave. Culture is nothing more than behaviors, a set of behaviors. The adjectives we use to describe the culture are in and of themselves the behavior, right? Is it a meritocracy? Do they behave that way? Is it open and welcoming? Is it a flexible environment? Is it adult-oriented? Is it presence-based or performance-based? These are behaviors. So that's what I would do there. 1093 O'Neill, how do you approach questions in the interviews and panel interviews? Check the panel interview video. Same techniques here. Combination of what I instruct in the panel interview video and these tactics here. It's the same thing. I would ask them the same way. Thank you, Aylin, for my birthday wish for Friday. Paul, how many questions should I prepare for the interviewer? It isn't how many should I prepare for the interview. It's how many questions do you need to know whether that employer will satisfy you. I give in the premium program, in the coaching program, I give them a spreadsheet with 86 rows of itemized stuff that they can investigate, and they can choose whether they want to investigate it or not. And I give them definitions of what I'm talking about with the investigation, and then they can align their questions to if that's important to them and they want to get to know them. That's 86 right there. So you go 86 for 86. That's a lot of questions. Now, you might be able to kill a couple of those items with the same question, or you may not care about some of that stuff that I think is important to a lot of people, may or may not be important to you. So it isn't really a number specifically. Steve Smith, how do I stop from overthinking this whole job search process? One step at a time. Okay, what do I want to do? Right, what's my criteria look like? Put the resume together. Is that congruent with what I want and what I can sell myself into? So it's a marketing document to advertise myself, to attain interviews, so that I can get in there and talk about what I've done and the value that I can create for them. But in order to do that, you got to do one thing at a time. Just focus on, all right, get the resume done, get my covers done, identify the companies I want to target, identify a person. It's one step at a time. I have this thing called a one action rule. And the one action rule is, what's the next thing I need to do to keep moving forward? Now, if I'm you, I believe you are in the boot camp, I would go to the Job Search Challenge program and I would live in that. That's how I would do that. MC Fact, you don't need emails to create a necessary paper trail. Don't think that way. You don't need it. What else we got? Patrick, you're welcome. Deb, great to see you. Thanks for the birthday wish. All right, folks, replay will stay up. If you got any questions, support@matlock.com. Otherwise, I'll see you in a week or so. Take care.